So, joining me on stage are Avery, Elijah, and Daisy, and actually I'm gonna have you guys each just, of course, say your name, where you're from, and what disease do you have, and is this your first time meeting a patient?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Sumaira. Thanks for the opportunity. So hi, everyone. My name is Daisy. We are in Santa Rosa, California, so about a couple hours from here. I have NMOSD, and I was diagnosed about 2 years ago. Was that all the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is this your first patient event?
This is my second.
Second, okay. All right. Avery.
Hi everyone, my name is Avery. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. I was diagnosed in 2017, originally diagnosed with NMOSD, and then when the test came out, I was correctly diagnosed with MOGAD, and I don't even know.
This is like your 100th.
This is my 100th.
Hi guys, my name is Elijah Mayberry, and I live in Woodlake, California, which is a couple hours away from here. I was diagnosed with NMOSD with the antibody octopform 4 positive. Do want to say though, about 5 months ago, I got retested for it and it came back negative, which is nice. And I would say this is my third patient day event. Yeah.
Elijah, we'll start with you. I want to start with everyone's kind of diagnosis journey. Take us back. What year, how old were you, what was your life like at that time when you got diagnosed, and how did you get diagnosed? What were your symptoms?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so started in 2018. I was, I'm an athlete, I was playing baseball during that time. And then I would say the first week before I was about to start college, that's when I started having like symptoms. I was sleeping for about 21 hours a day, and also losing my eyesight as well. I mean, since I love baseball, I didn't want to give that up either, so I kept going to practices, and it got to a point where I wouldn't be able to see the ball, and it would kind of hit me, at times. And then right before I was going to start, that's when my mom was like, well, you're going to need a car, So we went out car shopping, and I mean, as a 17-year-old, if you're going car shopping, you're gonna be super excited, right? Well, I was sleeping throughout the whole process, and that's when my uncle was with us, and he was like, we need to take you in, because it doesn't look right. So then I was admitted at Valley Children's Hospital for about 3 weeks. They didn't know what was going on because it's still fairly new. They were about to send me home saying I had narcolepsy, but my mom did fight that. It was just like it's something else, So they transferred me out to UCSF, where I met Dr. Wimbat, and within the week she diagnosed me with NMOSD.
Wow.
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 17. Well, when she diagnosed me, I just turned 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Avery?
So I was diagnosed when I was 19 years old. I had just finished my first year of college. I was a collegiate track runner. I was on a full ride scholarship, and track and field and working out was my whole entire life. And then the summer going into my sophomore year, I was on a trip in Los Angeles, and I started to get this really bad headache that was very deep behind my eye, different than the migraines and headaches that I had growing up. This one was just so intense and a feeling that you can't really describe. I think the best way I could describe it is it felt like my eyeballs were kind of being ripped out of my head. So with that pain, I gradually started to lose vision in my left eye. I started to get it was like looking through a piece of Swiss cheese. It was, some parts were very blurry and some parts I could see through. Within a couple of days, I had completely lost vision in that eye. And then about a couple days later, that's when the right eye started to go blurry as well. I went into the ER about 4 different times, and they kept treating it as a migraine and would give me a migraine cocktail, and I was sent home. And then what really did it was when I woke up one day and I wasn't able to move my left arm, and it felt like my legs were burning. It felt like there was pins and needles. It felt like I was being dipped in fire and hot acid. And eventually my mom was starting to get worried, and I tried to get up to go to the bathroom, and I stumbled, and I also couldn't urinate. So we went into the ER and they started running test after test after test. I was put into the ICU and they were thinking it was MS or lupus or some other commonly diagnosable disease. And there was a doctor at the time who was kind of questioning whether this was a case similar to something that he had seen. And by the time I was fully admitted to the ICU and they were running tests, I was paralyzed from the chest down. So he looked at the case study, he brought it to the doctor that was treating me, and I was very fortunate to be in Colorado where Dr. Jeff Bennett is. And funny enough, Jasmine was actually my nurse treating me before she got diagnosed. So that's when I was diagnosed with NMO. The MOGAD test came out the same year, and I was eventually diagnosed properly a couple months later, but I went through the full plasma exchange process. I was on steroids. I gained like 80 pounds in like 2 months, and I had to learn to walk again, and I had to look at my life differently from what I had originally planned. And it's been a long journey to recovery, but here I am now.
Yeah.
Daisy? Yeah, so I don't really want to say my age.
That's okay. You don't have to.
But I do recall very clearly, excuse me, so it was December 17th, 2022 was when I had my first onset. I had this really bad headache and I couldn't even open my eyes. It felt so bad. It's just excruciating pain. And I felt something was wrong. So, I was like, Cliff, my husband, we got to go to the ER. So we went to the ER. They sent us back and said, it's just a really bad migraine. And so it continued, it progressed. And my body just kept on getting weaker. My face started getting numb. My arms started getting numb. My legs started getting numb. Like, something's not right here. And I called my sister and I was just like, well, do you think I should go to the ER? I don't want to pay the $500. She's like, you need to go. $500 is nothing. So I went and they're like, well, we need to admit you and we need to figure out what's going on here. And at that point, it was before Christmas. I had my decorations up. I had Christmas presents. I was excited for the holiday. But, I had no idea what I was stepping into. And it was really a dark time for me. And I was in the hospital for about a week. And they said, my neurologist said, I'm pretty sure this is MS. I'm confident it's MS. So sent me back home, got the IV. It was one of those IV that you had to take when you're in the hospital. But he sent me home with it. And my husband's like, no, this is not right. How could you give this to my wife? And we can't even open this. So my husband went to his office and asked him, like, can we get some help here? So finally he was able to help us get us, to open the IV or the steroids so I can take it. But it still continued to progress. Felt like something was not right, but my neurologist kept on pushing and saying this is MS for sure. So months went by and I remember just dragging my foot. I remember it was hard for me to see. It was hard for me to even swallow. It was hard for me to talk. And I remember just trying to write. I couldn't even write. It looked like chicken scratch. But I have 2 kids, I have a family, and I wanted to keep pushing. I wanted to just find an answer. And so after probably 15 hospital visits, ER visits, lots of bills, the neurologist called me and said, let's do another test. And then when we finally did the, what's that test? Aquaporin 4 test, it came back positive. And I had a missed call from him, like probably 7 missed calls. I'm like, okay, something's going on here. And when we got in touch, he was just like, you have NMO. So I was just glad that there was an answer and glad that right away I started the treatment and started getting better and getting my mobility back and yeah.
Wow. A question for the three of you. From the onset of your symptoms to a definitive diagnosis, what was the time period in between, Elijah?
I would say mine was about a month and a half.
Okay.
About a month and a half, yeah.
2.5 weeks.
About 3 months.
Wow. And I'm sure that felt like the longest period
Oh.
ever, but actually, you three are very lucky because that's a short amount of time to a diagnosis. There are patients in our community who have been misdiagnosed for years, but sometimes it takes like a decade to get the right diagnosis. So actually, I'm really happy to hear that you all had a short kind of road to a diagnosis. So I have individualized questions for you guys. Elijah, you also live with another autoimmune disease. Can you share a little bit about that? NMDAR.
Correct, yes.
Yes.
How can
Like, when did it happen? Was it around the same time?
It was correct, yeah. It was all diagnosed around the
So
same
NMO
time. Yeah.
and NMDAR happened at the same time?
The same time, yes, correct.
Okay, and the first time you heard the names of your diagnosis, what went through your mind? How did you feel?
More so of kind of like, how is that gonna kind of change my life, you know, like what are gonna be like my restrictions? I mean, especially being athletic, kind of like what, yeah, exactly, like how am I gonna be like what are my restrictions, you know? Especially with that, it was a lot was going through my head. I kind of thought my life was gonna go towards the whole kind of MLB route, you know?
Yeah.
And
During
we'll get to
that time,
Yeah.
so it was just it was scary, kind of hearing especially these big words and everything at that age. It was intimidating.
What was your biggest fear in that moment?
More so of just it's kind of my life after,
Yeah.
really, yeah. And then I know with the treatments that they're or putting me on, it was more of a kind of like can this kind of progress to, I mean, kind of get worse, you know?
Mhm.
Kind of how I felt at that moment.
Mhm.
It was just, yeah, it was scary, yeah.
Okay.
It was scary.
What about you, Avery? You had a different diagnosis and then a correct diagnosis. So when you finally actually, tell us about both times. When you heard the NMOSD diagnosis and the MOGAD diagnosis, what was going through your mind? How did it make you feel?
I think the first thing for me, because I was an athlete, was, is this going to affect my ability to run? And I remember a doctor sat down and very clearly said to me, running is no longer in the cards for you. So I think that's kind of where my mind was going, that I'm going to lose something that I love, something that I had worked so hard to do. And getting the diagnosis, I did feel a bit of relief in a sense, because I finally knew what it was. But it's also like this whole new feeling of fear, because what does this mean for my future? Am I going to be able to get better? Am I going to be able to walk again? Am I going to have to live with a caregiver for the rest of my life? And just kind of looking at how life would be post both diagnoses.
And you, Daisy? How did it make you feel when you finally got your diagnosis?
I think it was just a mix of emotions. You almost feel like you lost yourself in a way, because you were once something else before. But then when you take a step back and you look at what you've gone through, and then you get the diagnosis, knowing that you're going to be on a therapy to get your life back, it's almost like a relief, because there's just so much that I would lose. I have 2 girls, I have a family. It's just too much to lose to to not do something about it and to not get my life back.
Elijah and Avery, you guys both have something in common. A couple of things, actually. So the first is they're amazing dancers. We're going to film a TikTok later. No, but on a more serious note, you guys were both diagnosed in your teen years, and you were both on very fast tracks to pursuing your athletic dreams. You know, you wanted to be a pro baseball star and you a track and field star. And obviously you had to part ways with those dreams. So can you tell us a little bit about what that process was like? Avery, do you want to go first?
I honestly took a lot of time to grieve. I had this whole plan for my life. At 18, 19, you're new into the world. You finally get to make your own choices for yourself. And you kind of map out how you want your life to be. And not being able to do the one thing that took away all my pain, all my stress, it was very, very hard. I was very depressed. It was very weighing on my mental health. And it was just really hard to see all of my friends that were on the track team go off and continue to still have meets and continue to compete. And I was sitting there like, am I going to be able to walk to the bathroom? So being a teenager, that was something that was very difficult for me. And I know all the teenagers that are diagnosed with it, you have to grow up very quickly. Mm-hmm. You have to start telling doctors what's wrong with you because they don't know. Looking at doctors and trying to educate them and trying to tell them what it is that you're going through. You're not always going to be listened to. So that's another part of it, is you're having to grow up while also grieving what was.
Elijah?
And yeah, I would also have to agree with what Avery said, especially knowing that you just can't pursue that anymore. It was just super, super hard. Like I do remember vividly me walking into my coach's office and just kind of I did break down in front of him and did let him know I think it's time for me to hang up the cleats, and he did look at me and kind of like, I know exactly what you're going through, and I really respect you for like coming in and kind of letting me know this. And he knew how hard it was for me during that time. And then kind of going through kind of my mental state as well with it, especially losing something that was a big part of my life. I mean, gratefully I did have a good support system with that. Yeah.
I always tell people that I obviously wish I never got NMO, but like, I'm glad that I have it and I'm the one who's sick and not someone in my family, because I wouldn't be able to watch someone who I love go through all the things that I went through and all the things that we went through. So, you know, caregivers, as we saw from Maria, they have so much weight on them. They have to kind of put their lives aside to take care of people like us. So I want to ask all of you, because your families are actually all here today, how did your illness affect your families?
I think it's definitely a big change. We had to adjust, and I would say my husband is probably,
Okay.
I lost $20. My husband said, or my daughter said, I'm gonna bet $20. You're gonna cry, Mom. I'm like, okay, it's a deal. But my husband, he's such a warrior. He's always like, if you're sick, you're not coming close to Daisy. Whenever we have a family event, he's always looking out. And I work in marketing, and marketing is a very high demanding job. And so I can work hours and I'm busy with the kids too. And he'll notice and he'll say, okay, you gotta slow it down, you gotta go take a break, you gotta nap. So it's just listening to my body and accepting the support and just being open with my family, letting them know, hey, I can't go to this event, or I can't do this, I'm not feeling too great today. Or sometimes it's like, oh, let's do this. Let's go for a mile walk. and then we'll drag our kids along, and but it's an adjustment. But I would say I'm grateful to where I am today and what I'm able to still do. I feel like mentally I'm a lot stronger. My body, maybe there's some things I have to kind of adjust here and there and take a couple steps back sometimes, but I'm content, and I feel like I'm a lot stronger, and I learned so much from just when I was first diagnosed. When I was first diagnosed, it just felt like gloom and just felt like, okay, bye everyone.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I just want to just spread the word of hope and just let everybody know there's going to be times of darkness, but pull through it. You're strong. Mindset is everything, so it's all about mindset.
How did your beautiful girls react to the news of your diagnosis?
They were scared, but they were such troopers. They were always, whatever you need, mommy. I'll get this for you. I'll get that for you. They'll come and lay down. We'll snuggle, and it's just been great. They're like my best friends. So.
Aw, that's sweet. Avery?
I think it affected my whole family pretty hard. I remember my sister lived here at the time while I was in Colorado, and I remember my mom calling her and telling her what was going on, and they both just cried on the phone together. My sister caught the first flight out to be with me. My brother had a family of his own and would spend his nights in the hospital with me, so I wasn't alone. Excuse me. My mom had to quit her job, and it was very hard watching her support system slowly dissipate and watching her take on the role of being a caregiver, me not being able to do anything about it. And then, of course, you have the family members and the friends that don't react like that. So I was 19, and I thought I had a big group of friends, and by the time I was diagnosed, they were no longer my friends. When people don't understand it, they tend to just back off. So I'm grateful for the family members and the friends that I had that really just kind of took it on and supported me in any way that they could. But it's something that definitely affects the ones that love you, for sure.
Elijah?
Yeah, I would say that it did affect my family pretty hard as well, especially in the very beginning when doctors were kind of saying what they thought it was. And then also, because I do also have a younger brother, and since with the whole diagnosis, my mom was kind of showing more attention kind of to me because it's very serious, But then I would say later on, like the rest of my family, my brothers and all that, they kind of like understood and more so was right behind me with it. And then I would also say as well, it's kind of hard for other people to kind of understand what you're going through, and some people don't really react kind of how it is. And I would say I also did kind of lose some friends as well during that process with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
What would you guys say was your biggest challenge or challenges throughout this entire journey of living with your conditions? Daisy?
It's a big question. I mean, there's a lot of challenges. I think at the beginning, the biggest challenge was, and it was interesting because my neurologist really tried, and he did his best effort, but he was not educated. He had no idea about what NMOSD was. After he found out what it was, he was open with me. He said, Daisy, you're the first NMO patient I have ever had, so I apologize. I apologize to you that I assumed that it was MS because there was a lot of back and forth trying to figure out what this could be. So that was one challenge. Another challenge would be, I guess I just have some good days and bad days. Some days where I just feel really fatigued, tired, just can't really do it. So I have to just kind of slow down, give myself a little grace, listen to my body. And then some days are just like, I'm totally fine. I can do this. I can tackle this. I can go to Allie's basketball game. I can, do everything. So it's just more of just listening to my body and adjusting.
Avery?
One of the biggest challenges I had was self-advocacy. At the beginning, I let my mom do all of the talking. I didn't know what questions to ask, how to ask them, because when we look at doctors and physicians, they're supposed to know the answer, and that's what I thought. So with each appointment, the more people that were doubting what I had and kind of taking away from what I was experiencing, I had to learn to speak up for myself because it was my health at the end of the day. And you have to make the doctors listen to you. You have to not leave their office until you feel comfortable about what it is that happened. So I think the more appointments I had, because I was having appointments like every other day at that point, the more appointments I started to have, the better it got. But that was a huge challenge for me. I was very reserved, especially at 19. How do you stare at somebody with a PhD and say, this is what's wrong with me, you need to listen to me? And so the more confident I got in it, I think the better I was able to self-advocate for myself. And I think also kind of what Daisy was saying, finding my new normal, adapting to the fact that yes, I'm gonna have pain every day. Yes, I have pain right now and you can't even tell, because to us, to a lot of people, we look like we are regular people, but we're probably all in pain right now.
Yeah, I gotta change my
Exactly.
shoes.
So navigating the day-to-day struggles and going from working out several times a day to being bedbound and having to do things like crafts to keep myself entertained and finding new passions and things that I could do to occupy my time and things I want to pursue in life.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, for me as well, challenges were also while dealing with pain as well. I would also have to say, especially when it came to treatments-wise as well, the difficult challenge that I did have was dealing with the insurance as well. That was very, very tough at times. Yeah.
Insurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I look at the three of you, you look fantastic. You're all gorgeous and young and tan and happy and dancing and all the things. But obviously I know as a patient that there's so many invisible symptoms that we're dealing with that the naked eye just can't see. But you've also made such huge strides in your recovery with these, because at one point you were all bedbound. You know, you were hospitalized for weeks on end. So can you identify the turning point in your journey of when things started to get better and when you realized, like, okay, I got this, like things are gonna be okay?
You wanna go first?
Yeah, so I happened to be at a patient day, and I saw Miss Sumaira standing up on stage, and I saw that she was wearing heels and a really cute dress, and I'm sitting here like, why am I letting this disease take over me when that's something that I could do, when I can empower myself so I can empower others? And so I think it was from when I first met you.
2019, Los Angeles.
Was it 2018 or 19?
It was
Pre-COVID, right?
19.
19.
Yeah,
Yeah.
19, that's when
Oh my gosh, when I
Yeah.
dropped
Me
the
too.
F-bomb on stage?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, well that's very special. What about you, Elisha?
I would say that would be more of a turning point as well, especially meeting other people who
Yeah.
also have my condition and seeing how they kind of progress from it as well. Then that's when I kind of realized, like, I'm not that limited, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where that was a big turning point for me.
Great.
I think same for me too. Probably patient days like this.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not the only one. It's like
Yes.
the 5% wait.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Michael, that means we have to keep doing this. Okay. We are going to open up to the audience soon, but I have a couple more questions for you guys. So the first is, what kind of like wisdom would you share to other patients, specifically newly diagnosed patients? Advice, wisdom. Elijah?
I'll say don't be afraid to seek for help as well. Just honestly, just going on the platforms, discussing kind of how you feel with other people who also went through the same situation that you're going through. It does help a lot. So say don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think one piece of advice I could offer to newly diagnosed patients is turning to social media for community. I remember I was very embarrassed to share with people what I had because I went from being this athlete that was going to do great things to I can't go to the bathroom on my own. I am having a hard time seeing. I can't get up. So I started documenting my journey on social media, and I've been able to meet people that aren't just friends, but they're family now. And it's honestly amazing to see everybody and see people like Elijah and you, how far we've come. And social media has really helped bring us all together, I think, for sure. So definitely lean on that.
I would agree on both, and I would also add just, excuse me, be an advocate for yourself. Push and push for answers, and if it's not, and if you're still fighting, keep on pushing for answers, because at the end of the day, the physicians are doing their best. They're trying to figure out what it is, what the answers are, but you have to be the one to let them know what you're feeling, what you're going through, and if the answer is not enough, so just keep advocating.
We were so fortunate today to be surrounded by so many key opinion leaders in the space from UCSF, from Stanford, from Kaiser Permanente, and these are folks who are highly specialized in our diseases. But as we all know, not every patient is so lucky to have doctors like this in their care. A lot of patients are seeing general neurologists who may be seeing an NMO patient for the first time, or they're in what's called a neurology desert, and there isn't that much expertise on our diseases. So for the replay, for doctors who will be watching this after the fact, what's something you as patients from your lived experiences would like to share for doctors to learn from what you have all gone through?
Don't limit us. We can still live life beyond our diagnoses, and I feel like a lot of doctors, unfortunately, when they're not as knowledgeable, it's kind of like Google when you see, oh, you have 5 years. Like when the doctor told me, you can't run, running is not in the cards for you. And I proved them wrong, and I was able to run again. So I think listening to your patient and bedside manner is different for people with rare diseases. So I think taking the time to learn a patient and knowing that not every rare disease patient, especially NMO and MOGAD, is going to be the same.
Well said.
That was
That was
spot on. That was spot on.
I would also just add, if you can just listen to what we're sharing with you, what we're telling you, what we're going through, and not say, that's not it. You're not going through that. I'm pretty sure this is what it is. Just be more open-minded to hearing what we have to say, because we're the ones who are going through it.
Yeah. For all of us on stage here, our lives were supposed to look very different. And then we got our illnesses, our diagnoses, and then our lives drastically changed. And of course, we went through really difficult times, but not all is bad. I'll speak for myself. Maria was saying something earlier. Sometimes these things happen for a reason. I mean, I feel like for myself, NMO was actually, ironically, the best thing that could have happened to me. I think it made me a better person, and to be able to do what I do now and help patients and doctors all over the world is a gift that I'm not sure I would have gotten in any other way. And then Elijah recently got married. So
Yes.
His wife is here. He's a newlywed. He's
Thank you.
healthy, he's happy, he's still dancing, he's making everyone else around him so happy. Avery is the founder of a nonprofit organization now, so that's incredible. She's running, she's in a wonderful relationship. She has also found love. And Daisy here obviously has a beautiful family too, and also has an advocacy organization now. Do you want to tell us about it?
Well, I've been pretty busy with my day job.
Yeah, okay.
I'll eventually get there. It's Kay Ali Foundation. It's named after my two girls, Cadence and Aliana. We're hoping to reach just rare diseases and in any creative way. I'm really leveraging my love of flowers.
Mhm.
So I'll just kind of put it
Perfect.
like that.
Do you want to tell us about couch pennies?
Yeah, so I started Couch Pennies kind of similar to you, just wanted to see what I could offer to the community, if I could use my voice and my story in any way. So I started working on Couch Pennies in 2018. Of course, with being sick, that was something that was very hard to do. But in 2022, we became an official 501c3. We are so fortunate to be able to work with Amgen and TSF, and we work to raise awareness for all rare diseases.
Amazing.
All right, so do we have any questions from the audience?
Hi. Just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your stories. To everyone that shared stories today, it's really encouraging for me to see young people, and Daisy, I include you in this, young people.
Yes.
The voices of young people speaking and sharing is very unique and really, really encouraging. I have a question for you three. How are you protecting and fortifying your mental health during your treatment and then also now at this point of your journey? What advice do you have and what fortifications did you do for your mental health?
Good question.
Well, I struggled very badly with depression when I was first diagnosed, a lot of anxiety, and then I was diagnosed with something called medical PTSD, which I didn't even know was a thing. So I started seeing a psychiatrist and working through all of those issues. But I think it's really important to do the things you need to do for self-care and to take care of yourself, because unfortunately this disease is not just physical, it affects your mental health as well. And the better that you are able to take that on, you're able to advocate for yourself better, and you can live a happier life. It's possible to be happy and live with a rare disease and live with NMO and MOG. So just take hold of your mental health. Self-care is very important. I have my therapist on speed dial. I text her frequently. She loves me. I love her. I have a good relationship with them.
Elijah?
For me, in the beginning, I would say it was just speaking with my therapist with that. And then as, the years gone by, I would just say more so of kind of still doing something that I do like to do. So like currently I'm like on a adult softball.
Yay!
I do adult softball now, so that kind of helps out with my mental. Yeah.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah, I think it's all about balance for me. To protect my mental health, I would say add time for myself. I try to make time for myself, and then where there's times where it's just really tough, I try to talk it out. I reach out to my close network, my family, friends, and I think just sharing my story really helps too.
I have to call out Veronica in the audience. Can you raise your hand? Veronica came all the way from Las Vegas. She drove at 1 a.m. last night because her son is Elijah, and she is an ambassador of the foundation as well. She's a caregiver ambassador, and I want to give the mic to Veronica to just share a few words about what it feels like to see Elijah on stage so well, thriving, and happy.
To see my son on stage makes me very proud. And I'm proud that he when I started off, I was the ambassador of California, and then he came on as a co-ambassador with me. So we kind of worked together. I ended up moving to Vegas, so now I'm in Nevada. But for him to take over as ambassador of California just made me proud. It makes me proud for him to share a story. The first time he shared a story, he did break down a bit, so he was kind of nervous. So he just expressed how nervous he was, and it was not till Thursday night I talked to my oldest son, and he's like, well, let's just drive over there. I said, okay.
Aww.
So right after work last night, I drove in. But I did wanted to say something, though. Avery talked about social media, because I know the young kids are big on social media. When my son was first diagnosed, I went to social media. My family was kind of I don't know if they were embarrassed, but they didn't want me kind of sharing what was going on, but I felt like it was important that I did. And Avery was the very first person to reach out to me. She made me feel more at ease because I was devastated. And so here we are 7 years later, and she's like a sister to my son.
Wow.
And I'm very, very fortunate and very happy that we met you, Avery.
I
love you. Does anyone else have any questions for our panelists?
For the panelists that were at the Los Angeles Patient Day, can you tell us about the TikTok video you did and how well it did? What happened there?
We went viral, guys.
We did go viral.
Yeah, we did. It's like
I felt like we should have had it here to play.
We should have.
Just go to the TSF Instagram, you'll see it. I think it has like 65,000 views or something. That's
something
viral
like that.
for rare
Yeah,
disease.
something like that.
Yeah.
Mind you, we practiced like maybe once or twice.
Yes,
Before that,
Jasmine was
yeah.
in it
Before
too.
that.
We're gonna do another one today if anyone wants to be in it, but yeah. It's, now we do this thing, every time we have a patient day with our ambassadors, we do these TikToks, and then the caption is always, what is it?
When rare besties link up.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
when
then
we're
it'll be the city that we're in, but I try to keep up with Gen Z, it's not working. Any other questions? All right, well, please give a round of applause for these courageous patients. Thank you.